Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoro.com. Look who I have on. It's Andy Schectman of Miles Franklin, our man, our myth, our legend, with the real cool background today. I love it. I want to grab a guitar and start rocking out. How are you, Andy?
Good to see you, Bix. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Hey, anytime. I thought it was important to get on the line, chat about a few things. One, the RICO charge settlement of JP Morgan, 10 years of rigging the silver and gold markets, 10 years of abusing, I would say, millions of people, especially investors in gold and silver, and they get another tiny little fine, less than $1 billion. They've rigged those markets in the trillions. That's a T, trillions every year, and for 10 years they did it right under the nose of the CFTC while investigations were going on, and nothing happened. They were not even removed from the silver and gold market for future trading. Basically, is a little pat on the head saying, nice job, JP Morgan, get out of jail free card, crime pays in America. What's your take?
Yeah, it's a drag. I think it's even more egregious that they're able to continue to be the custodian for SLV. Talk about the fox guarding the henhouse. The one thing that I would hope is that perhaps the scrutiny by the Justice Department and the CFTC will be maybe a little greater. I don't know. It's depressing. It's a depressing realization, but which makes me feel maybe that this silver that they've accumulated was accumulated on behalf of someone else, not theirs. Could it be the U.S. government or the Chinese government? I don't know. But all I can say is that the penalty certainly didn't fit the crime. That's for sure.
I agree 100%. And you think about all the tentacles that JP Morgan has in the gold and silver market. You mentioned SLV. Also, let's talk about, like, they have the largest warehouse inventory of silver and gold, I believe. I'm not sure about gold. Definitely silver on the Comex. Now, the Comex is a self-regulating entity. The CME is a self-regulating entity. Are they going to take themselves, whatever happened to the Comex? This is a major player, major participant in the Comex, who was just fined for 10 years of market rigging in a market that they control. What happened to self-regulation? Where are the people who are in charge of that division? Why aren't they getting thrown in with these? I think there's 6 traders, 2 have admitted it, and then 4 are going to trial. Why isn't there any Comex people in this trial situation? Why aren't they being charged?
No, that's a good question. And I think the Comex by their actions are scrambling. They're afraid. The reason that JP Morgan has such a massive amount of silver on the Comex is that it allows them to legitimately hedge that position instead of naked shorting it. And the fact that they were being called on the carpet for delivery of these short positions has changed the landscape dramatically. The fact that the Comex has increased the eligible bar list by 80 or 90 refiners screams of panic that they are trying to, forestall a run on the Comex or keep it from blowing up. But you're right. Why hasn't the regulators been called on the carpet as well? Makes me feel like JP Morgan was given a green light to accumulate this silver on behalf of one of 2 entities, either the U.S. or the Chinese government. And I really do believe it's the U.S. government. How else can you just get a slap on the wrist? How else can the regulators be given a free pass? It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Although when you take a look at all of the fines that have been levied on these commercial banks, whether it be for LIBOR rigging or Forex rigging or precious metals rigging through Deutsche Bank and Scotiabank and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, all these players, they're just continuously slapped on the wrist. But the fact that JP Morgan was given a green light on this and just a slap on the wrist of $1 billion fine, which amounts to a day or 2 of profit for them, is a joke. I guess all one can hope for, Vix, is that maybe they said you got to knock this off. You can't hold down the prices the way that you're doing. We can't go through this again. Let's just hope that something along those lines was clarified in the judgment. But suffice it to say, I guess the only way, Vix, that you can successfully manipulate a market over time, whether you're the biggest entity on the block or not, like JP Morgan, is to push it in the direction it's going. And the world is accumulating gold and silver. And you're seeing it by how much is being pulled off the Comex. Um, the massive amount of metal that's being pulled off the Comex every month in many months is as much as we've seen in years past. That to me is screaming that the big players don't care about any of this. They just want their metal in their possession. Like you always say, if you don't have it, you don't own it. I think these sovereign wealth funds and home family offices and high net worth people are realizing that. Doesn't matter what JP Morgan's fines are. I think in the end, we're seeing a trend of higher prices and people not trusting the exchanges. And this just gives people more reason to not trust the exchange and continue pulling metal off. I think it'll be a very interesting couple of months, in particular December, with a massive open interest with the results of the election. I think it could be crazy, crazy all the way till the end of the year. But yeah, it's disappointing, Bix. I wish I was a little bit more excited by the outcome.
Yeah, I think you're right. That, the next battlefield is between. Well, we also got to remember today's the last day of the quarter, of the third quarter. I do believe, and it is said in the DOJ announcement that they were supposed to disgorge of their ill-gotten gains, which Ted Butler has been saying for the past year that JP Morgan was the one feeding physical silver into the Comex warehouses to take it out. A lot of it went to SLV. So it's basically giving it to one criminal organization from one criminal organization to the other. But it's clear to me the timing of this thing, which is the last day of the quarter is when they're, right before the last day of the quarter. And what happened over the last year that JP Morgan disgorged about 300 million ounces of physical silver from their billion ounces, according to Ted's data. I don't know anybody who has a better grasp on the physical data than Ted, other than the insiders who are actually making those moves. But it looks like he just nailed it, absolutely nailed it. I would want to add one more thing. I don't want to harp on the bad stuff. It's over. We're going to see what the DOJ does going forward to these criminals. If they're not allowed to short into the rises, we're looking at massive rises for gold, silver. But I do want to tell everybody just how important this is. The guy who laid the charges on JP Morgan was none other than John Durham. John Durham is the guy taking out the people within the deep state in the Obama administration at the DOJ and the FBI and all over, the basic attempted coup on President Trump. So this is no little tiny deal. This is a massive deal. It's all part of that same rigging mechanism. We all know that Bill Daley, Jamie Dimon's, they call him a SWAT team leader, went to be Barack Obama's chief of staff when all this market rigging was going on in gold and silver. So all the pieces are connected. I think John Durham has a big role in the takedown of the end of manipulation, and that's all we're looking for. I don't even care about the past anymore. The past is done. They fined him $920 million. Who gets it? How much of that does Ted Butler get? Because he deserves a hell of a lot of that $920 million. I don't know how much is going to him, but lots of good things coming down the pipe.
How about all the mining companies? Why aren't they doing a class action lawsuit? Like screaming, where they've admitted manipulation. And Craig Hemke in his latest article said it best. Anyone out there that's reading people that continue to say the market hasn't been manipulated, I would cancel my subscription yesterday and stop reading them. They've admitted guilt. They've admitted that they've been doing this. They admitted that they were taught how to do it by their the senior management. Let's just hope, like you said, that their fine amounted to not much of anything other than a slap on the wrist. Let's just hope that it came with the fact that you got to knock it off. You can't do this any longer. And if that be the case, then fine. It doesn't matter that they weren't nailed to the wall, as much as we would like to all see that type of vengeance. But if the sea changes and we're able to see any semblance of a free market, that's great. That's fantastic. Because I'll tell you one thing, Bix, this last pullback that we saw, I'm telling you, not one person sold anything anywhere in the physical industry. It's a complete bunch of crap. The price is driven down once again on paper, but no one is selling anything at all. So, I think let's just hope that there from this comes some sort of of a set of guidelines that inhibits and in fact prohibits these banks from pushing the market around for their own ill-gotten gains.
And I agree. That's the big hope. I would also like to point out that history has shown all they do is pass the buck with the big silver manipulation. You know, Ted Butler's pointed out many times, Drexel Burnham, AIG, Bear Stearns, now JP Morgan. I have identified a rather large entity out of the banking sector, BlackRock, who is probably the likely next entity to be the chief rigger. I would lump in with them a company called Virtu Financial that has been rigging the silver market for a hell of a long time. That's a high frequency trading company run by Vincent Viola, who was a Bernie Madoff guy, who was a Trump even put him up as the head of he wanted to put Vincent Viola as the head of the U.S. Navy. Who knows? I mean, Trump makes some moves that I just scratch my head about, but Vincent Viola is one of the king computer market riggers of everything. So I've got my eye out for who's next. I don't think JP Morgan's going to be allowed to do it anymore, which is good. So we'll keep an eye on it. But if this is truly a free market, we should see by tomorrow, which is the start of the fourth quarter, some free trading, freely traded markets, which means significant gains in both physical silver and physical gold. Then again, it's still a Comex game. It's still options and futures contracts and trading billions of ounces per week, sometimes per day. So we will see, but I think everybody out there in silver who cares about the silver manipulation ending for sure needs to keep a close eye on who's going to be doing what from here on out, because I don't think it's going to be JP Morgan.
Or perhaps maybe not the commercial banks at all. And you can see that by, Deutsche Bank and by Scotiabank getting nailed to the wall on this also, if you want to call it nailed to the wall, slapped on the wrist. But suffice it to say, yeah, I agree with that. And I think there probably will be. BlackRock would be here again, but BlackRock is involved in SLV, I believe, aren't they?
They own it.
Yes. So here you go. So the fox guarding the hen house once again. And again, this underscores why you don't buy paper, gold and silver. You buy the real thing and take possession of it. So let me ask you, Bix, I'll play the interviewer. Where do you see this going? Where do you see things playing out in this light? Are you hopeful that we see a semblance of a free market? Or do you think it doesn't matter, that in the end, the physical demand will overwhelm all of the attempts to hold it back because the rest of the world is becoming, I think, very suspicious, leery, and tired of fiat currency?
Well, my take is they will attempt to control it. If it does freely trade, it's the end of the Comex, probably instantly. We've got 150 years of price manipulation stored up. Silver shouldn't be $23 an ounce. It should be more like $600, $700, $800 an ounce in a freely traded market. If they can't sell the electronic contracts, and it gets back to the electronic derivative contracts that are the volumes that are traded. And I'm always all about the volume. I don't care about open interest. I care about volume because that's where trades are made. The volumes are traded. You cannot beat that against a silver demand. Silver demand will lose every time when you're trading 1 billion ounces of electronic silver, not caring if you win or lose money-wise, but caring if you control the price. And that's what's been going on since the 1970s, since Alan Greenspan implemented the first computer programs, trading programs. It's the same game. So I think there are people, good guys as I call them, within the U.S. government who are about to end that game. Now, do they want a smooth transition where it takes a couple of years for silver to be freely traded at $400, $500, $600, or do they want something that's a little more radical that they can't control? I would guess they're going to go for the control, but I'm not so sure they can control everything else. And every country out there that knows now, especially through the admission of JP Morgan, that yes, the silver and gold markets are rigged.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what, Bix? I think most people, even ardent dollar and equity bulls, would argue that our economy is in big trouble at this point, regardless of how COVID plays out. We're a year or two or three away at best from ever seeing a semblance of what was of a normal economy. And if that means the whole system blows up for whatever reason, a lot of people think it will by the actions of the Fed with keeping interest rates low, asset prices high, and destroying the dollar through massive money creation, that we are on the verge of something like that. Maybe when everything blows up and maybe there is a different pricing mechanism for precious metals. Maybe then all of these things that we've talked about instantly make sense. And I think sometimes in life you have to have strong fingertips and just hang on to your convictions. Trust them, regardless of the noise on the outside. The bottom line is simply this, Bix. The most sophisticated, well-funded, well-informed, influential traders on the planet are massively accumulating gold and silver. And they are trying to misdirect the public through rhetoric, through price, through everything, even through the workings of the regulators. All of these things to keep the public from fleeing the dollar. If you noticed during the debate last night, one of the things Trump talked about was the asset prices, the 401k, the wealth effect. They're trying to keep asset prices up. And so when you take a look at what gold is the kryptonite to the dollar. It is the antithesis of what they're trying to achieve, to keep people from losing their mind after everything that's happened over the last 9 months. They're trying to create a perception of reality, to manipulate a perception of reality that everything is okay, just keep on going, you're fine, stay in your 401k, stay in dollars, don't rush, don't leave the banks. It's like the 12th hour. And I think you have to have strong fingertips and hang on and trust what you've been saying for a long time and what we've been saying for a long time, and filter out the noise, because again, I keep falling back on the tier 1 revision of gold. If for nothing else, it will be a central theme in what comes next. And because there's such a massive correlation between gold and silver, for thousands of years, silver will be the best performing asset class in the planet. But I think these types of things, while they're discouraging and disheartening a little bit, let's not give up hope just yet, because I think indeed it shines a light. And the more light that keeps getting shown upon the manipulation, upon the bad guys, upon what should be and what shouldn't be, these are all good things. And I'm hopeful that by what I see happening on the massive amount of accumulation of metals by big money, and the big money taking it off the exchanges because they don't trust the exchanges, to me, that's eye-opening. That's not, don't trust what we say, do what we do. And so that's the thing, you know, you got to filter out the noise, Bix, and filter out the rhetoric. And that's a tough thing to do. But again, just look at what the big players are doing. When you see the amount of silver that's been pulled off of the exchanges in 1 month, equaling to what normally goes in 1 year, these from the most sophisticated traders on the planet, these are things we should all pay attention to. And I don't think the end is anywhere near on this story. I think it'll continue to play out. But you know, sometimes you just got to take your lumps, hang on, and keep plugging ahead with your beliefs, because everything you say makes great sense to me. And I'm very hopeful that by the end of this year, we will see silver much, much higher than it is right now, just based upon the sheer amount of volume and demand in physical sales that I'm seeing, and that I'm hearing from my friends in the industry. It's off the charts. Nobody's selling. Nobody is. So I think before it's all said and done, that plays out.
Hey, I want to remind Road to Ruta members, you don't want to be in line at the silver store. You want to buy your silver after the slam down. We've had a 20% knockdown. It was almost hitting $30. We're down below 24, wherever it is right now. You want to buy metal now when it's not absolutely crazy, because it is going to get crazy very soon. You're going to be standing in line to get your metal. You're going to order from people you have no idea who they are, and they're going to say, yeah, it's on the way, it's on the way. And then you'll say, well, everybody's got a delay, it's on the way. We've seen it time and time again. Get your metals while it's not crazy. Get your metal from somebody you know and trust. And if you don't know anybody, I know and trust Andy and Miles Franklin. I have turned on so many Road to Ruta members to you guys and your service, and they absolutely love you. If you guys don't have your metal yet, send Andy an email, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at milesfranklin.com, milesfranklin.com. Find out what he's got in inventory. I tell everybody, hey, Andy's going to get you the metal. I just can't tell you when if he doesn't have it in inventory. So
I do right now.
Inventory.
Thank you, Bix. And I do. I have a great inventory right now, as good as I've had in a very long time. in preparation for the next 2 months. I've been saying that all along. I've been buying the whole way through. And I buy it myself. As I've often told the story, every 2 weeks when I started in this industry in 1989 with my father, there was one rule and one rule only, or he would fire me. And that was that I need to buy something every 2 weeks. That's been 30 years. I've never missed a 2-week period. Gold and silver are wealth, period. They're wealth. And they're not an investment, it's wealth. It's 6,000-year-old wealth that's lived through every pandemic and every market crash and every cycle. And by every single metric, in my opinion, silver is the most undervalued commodity on the planet. That's all I've been buying for the last 2 years. And I think that in the end, we will all owe you a debt of gratitude for you sticking to this, sticking to your guns and trusting your conviction and your belief structure and hanging on to that. And for that, I owe you a debt of gratitude, and I think everyone else will. I promise you that I will get your listeners the best price in the country. I will be upfront with them if I don't have it, if I've sold out of it, and when I expect it back. That led to a problem last March because I had purchased Maple Leafs from the Royal Canadian Mint. I had purchased Eagles from the U.S. Mint. They were supposedly on their way to me, and then they shut down. And when they shut down, my stuff was on the floor, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So because of that, I have a tremendously large inventory right now. I'm continuing to buy more. I just bought another 10,000 ounces of Royal Canadian Mint 100-ounce silver bars. I got tons of bags of junk silver. I have Eagles, I have Maple Leafs, I have Britannias, Kangaroos, Philharmonics, 1-ounce rounds, 10-ounce bars. I am so deep into my line of credit, I can't buy anymore. And that's been my promise to you and to the few other people who I talk to on a regular basis. I promise your listeners the best price. I want to say one other thing. Please, when you send me that email, I will get back to you. Give me 24 hours. I'm working 15, 18-hour days to keep up. And when you promote Miles Franklin, literally my phone, you can see it from a block away from the smoke coming up off the top of it.
Good.
I get 300 or 400 emails a day. I try my darndest to get back to people. I hope people have said that. If I don't get back immediately, keep trying. I'll get back to you. We'll get this done. And I want it to be done immediate. So I appreciate your trust in me, Bix. I appreciate your listeners' trust in me. I will do everything I can to uphold that and keep doing what you're doing, brother. It's you're doing a good job and a good service to humanity, to people who have enough courage to step away from the herd and to listen to what you're saying. It's as good of advice as I hear anywhere online. And you're also maybe the freshest breath of fresh air on the circuit online. You trust. You have a take that is different than everyone else's, and that's what I love about you, Bix. And you always have, and I appreciate it. And you're the top of my list. So anything I can do for you or your listeners, have them reach out to me at Andy at Miles Franklin. It'll be my mission to get that done in short order.
All right, hey, that's a challenge to everybody out there on the road to Ruta. Get your silver. Let's empty out Andy's warehouses. Get your physical silver in your own possession. How long have I been screaming this? Longer than I can even imagine, and for good reason. And we're seeing that reason right now with massive money printing, massive problems in our government, massive problems in the way our economic system has been constructed in the past. Everybody knows it's a fraud now, so you better hurry. Get your physical silver today. Andy, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing all your wisdom. And thank you for supporting the Road to Ruta members that have put their trust in you and your company, and just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful feedback that I get every time someone hooks up with you. So thank you again.
Bix, it's my most sincere honor. I hope I come across that way to you and your listeners. I view it as a privilege and an honor, and I take it as serious as a heart attack. I'll always be here, even if you need 5 minutes notice to hop online. Let me know. You take care of yourself, buddy. Stay well. I'm always following you, and I will look forward to picking up where we left off. Maybe we can do this again before the election, a couple weeks before, see what's going on. And in the meantime, thanks again for your trust in me. I'll never let you down.
Thank you, Andy. I'll talk to you later.